middle of kind of the holiday season, and it's been insane. My son had his first kindergarten Christmas program. Is his first program, right? It was only like a little half-hour thing in like the school gym, but it was a very nostalgic moment that made me feel very old because I'm filming with my phone, um, and I'm watching him do this little, the different Christmas songs. A couple the school had written, some classics, whatever, right? Um, and they did this little theme of the shepherds and the sheep at Bethlehem, and like kind of riff. It was kind of like stand up comedy. It was fun. It was cute, like with little kids, right? And I'm filming this thing, and I'm remembering my mom showing me as a teen videos of myself in my kindergarten program at that exact same school on that exact same stage, and it just was that full circle moment. It was wild. Um, so that was last night, but then everything in between, there's been just a ton of events and flurry of seeing family and different things we're going to. So yeah, it's been crazy. All that to say, it's been a crazy week. So hopefully, if you're in the middle of Christmas craziness and you're Christmas and holiday time, whatever, it's not too stressful. I mean, for other people, sometimes it's just a normal Christmas week, but I know for some it can be a lot. So yeah, but God's good. He's been blessing through it. I've been really, really appreciative of everything that comes with the season, and that'll actually kind of transition a little bit into our topic today. And as I'm thinking about it right now, let me, because I didn't do this, and Hui's going to be joining us in a little bit, I think. Work's been picking up, so he's been also in the thick of it. I'm going to ping everyone and let them know that study started. Oops. Everyone. If I could spell. Boom. There we go. Send. Yes. Cool. Now everyone knows. Oh, Linux. Huh. That is a ultra nerdy one that you will used to do Mac and Linux stuff more than I do now. But good luck with that, sir. that's a lot of work. But yeah. Anyways, so today we're going to talk about people are going to be filtering in as we start here. But today we're going to talk about obedience in the quiet things. I've been in a little bit of a season myself where God has been showing me how the flashy stuff. So we glorify God by being glorified in His name, right? Redirecting it to Him, and that's when we walk out this life. We act as ambassadors for Christ, right? But often the glory that we define or think of, that society, Christianity itself has defined as glorifying God, is actually, I don't want to say more melodramatic, but it's more extreme than I think we realize God's perspective is. I think most of the time it's like the whole thing about like if a single believer comes to Christ, like all the angels cheer. Like we kind of understand that about like a dramatic turning point of salvation, but we don't think about how the little things in our life delight God, and a lot of times that's being faithful, not only when no one's watching, but when we even don't see it as a big deal, right? Like, and we'll unpack that a little bit more, but just to kind of prime the pump a bit, that's what we're going to talk about: obedience in the little things, and then also how that flows into the difference between our purpose and our calling, and like vocation, and how vocation and like your job can change, but your calling is the same, right? Ultimately our purpose as Christians, as children of God, is the same, and then what that looks like carrying that out, especially I would say in situations where it doesn't feel like you're carrying it out, right? Um, so yeah, we're gonna unpack all of that. It's gonna be a good discussion, and get into it. Yeah. So welcome, Alicia, Rumby, Joy, Lauren, Chaotic. I mean, I know we were talking before, but welcome everybody.
Where are you at in the world right now, Joy?
Ooh, yes, I would love to know if you can
Are
type.
you traveling? Are you on the West Coast still? Last time I ran into Joy was at the Light Bearers conference.
Oh, nice. Oh yeah, you mentioned
Yeah.
that, right? Yeah. Well, maybe she can't talk right now. That's fine. Um,
All good.
but yeah, we'll open with prayer as people trickle in, and then break it down. So yeah, let me pray. Father, thank you for today. Thank you that we get to gather here today with you and with these amazing people, our brothers and sisters, that we get to have this body, this church, even though we're separated digitally by, physical space, we are in the same spiritual space with you right now. Where two or three are gathered, you're there. And I just thank you that you are present in our lives, you're active, you are leading us, giving us ears to hear your word, eyes to see it, giving us a heart to digest it and bring it to life, and a mind to understand it, to get the it thing that you're trying to get us to land on. But more than all of that, Lord, I just thank you for transforming us into it. As we hear the word, as we hear these ideas, as we hear how you're leading us, we thank you that it's not just memorization. It's not just following rules and regulations and systems. It's becoming this thing. That we give birth to your image to glorify you as we live out this life. So we just thank you for that, Lord, for that experience. We just thank you for your glory in all the big and little things and everything you do. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah. So, Huy, do you have... Oh, he's dipping out. I was going to ask him if he has a kickoff question. Oh, Joy, you're in Wyoming. That's awesome. Where at in Wyoming, out of curiosity? If you can... After you just got done typing. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I knew she wasn't. I assumed she wasn't on the West Coast anymore.
Bouncing all over, yeah. But yeah, while Joy's typing, Idaho, about an hour
Yeah.
and a half from Jackson. Hey, let's go. That's awesome. Yeah, Jackson's awesome. I love Jackson. My parents have a place out there, and it's beautiful. I mean, the Grand Tetons, Yellowstone,
Yeah.
like, oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
it's a sweet little place to hang out. Minus in the summertime,
Yeah.
getting swarmed by mosquitoes.
Oh, dude, they're
I've never been
relentless.
swarmed. Like it's insane. Like
Yeah.
I don't. I oh. But other than that, awesome.
Or in the winter when there's like 4 feet of snow all the time. It's extreme. It's pretty brutal, but it is
Yeah,
so worth it
but
because it's so
gorgeous.
gorgeous. Um, yeah, I can't go across the pass
Do
with
I
the
have
snows.
a
Yeah.
question to?
Thinking about calling vocation, and then what I kicked it
Yeah,
off
yeah. Yeah.
with.
So I like. Let me ask. I just. What do you want?
What do you want in life? Like,
No, just like what do you want with like? Because like
mm,
we're gonna talk about the distinction between like your calling and a job, right?
mm-hmm.
What do you want?
And
Like,
then probably the easiest way I could describe, because I was talking about like devotion to God in the quiet moments, right? And how like being satisfied with those things. So like uh what is being content? Maybe that's a good way to like what do you need to be doing to be content, right? That's kind of how I would ask that, but I would have you
yeah,
probably phrase it better.
and that naturally moves into a conversation about patience, right?
Mm,
But like if because the thing that needs to be properly separated is like what is the point of your life,
mm,
right? And then what is the like job you are currently in. So I had a conversation with let me just preface this, right? And then we'll go back to the question of like what do you want. So I had a conversation with Will Murphy
mm,
2 nights ago. He called me, he's like, hey man, I don't know if I'm supposed to be a chaplain. And I
mm,
was like, why? And I feel like calling me is going to be usually is like a really fast conversation unless the Lord is like you must be very gentle. Like he usually he'll tell me.
yeah.
Uh and then
Uh,
I was like why? And he's like well, like I got a review yesterday like in with my director. He's like training to be a chaplain right now at this hospital. And he was like, I was having this conversation with this woman, and I knew that what she was asking about and what she was actually afraid of. And so he like distinguished between like chaplaincy and pastoring.
mm,
And he was like, chaplaincy is directly addressing these like serious issues, spiritual issues that come up in a hospital setting, like for him specifically. And then pastoring is like walking for a really long time with somebody, right? And like being there to support them. And I instead of what was happening was she was afraid of dying. And he knew that like the conversation that he needed to have, but instead he like put on his pastor hat and like
Mm.
kind of danced around it, and like solved pastoral issues around the core issue versus solving for the core issue, which is a chaplain's job, right? It's like like prison chaplains, like hospital chaplains, they're all addressing these very severe and intense moments in like the human life.
Well, it's like being
And
a surgeon
so
versus being a PT. It's like there's
yeah,
people. Yeah.
totally. Yep,
Yep.
totally. And so he talked to his supervisor, and his supervisor was like, well, you were doing pastoral work. And so he started to question, like, am I supposed to be a chaplain because I keep putting on the pastoral hat? And and I was like, why do you keep putting on the pastoral hat? And he's like, I don't know. And I was like, okay, cool. There's like two roots to this. One is you either have something unresolved in your own right, and like pastoring is your way of medicating like whatever is unresolved in your past. I don't think that's it. Um, and then the other side of it is just you don't know what you're doing, and like that's a skill, and skills take time to develop, and you don't have the skill. You have the skill of pastoring, right? Like the skill of like the technical skill of pastoring plus the gift of pastoring. So like I feel like the gifting side of it is the like when you see a kid's personality, like a little kid's personality, you're like, oh, this is like who you are, right? Like the gifting resides in the or like you can observe the gifting really in the early stages of a child. But like skill is skill, and skill is either underdeveloped or it's very well developed, and it's either developed in the right direction and has alignment with like the job that's to be done, or it doesn't, and then you have to develop a new skill. This is the nature of the world. Is we are all constantly changing. Like if anybody is in white collar work, like Ame is facing billion-dollar investments from law firms all over the country in AI, right? So like the baseline job of researchers in the legal field is now potentially completely being replaced by AI. So like you're constantly facing changes in like a job, right? And so, I just reminded him because he knows this, right? But I was like, your purpose is to advance the kingdom of heaven, like to announce that there is a king, which is the gospel, the benefits of submitting to that king, and then advancing the kingdom forward by basically running that on a loop, right? And how you do it is based on the context of your current circumstances, right? Like, so you being meant to be a chaplain or meant to be a pastor is incorrect thinking. Like, that's a job. Like a chaplain at a hospital is a job, not your purpose. Like not the point, not a calling, right? Not what the like. Well, no, sorry. Yes, a calling. It's like, oh, look, I'm being called to this right now. But like, like, but it's not like the purpose. The purpose is universally wherever you go and wherever there's people. And so there's a sharp distinction between a calling to a job, right? There's a time and place for that, and then what the point of your life is. And I told him I was just like, bro, like you just got to ask the spirit, like, is this where you called me to? Did I mistake the initial conversation that we had? And of course, he's like, no. Like he wrestled with it for months. He wrestled with it for months, and it was very clear because usually like when you're being called to something new, right? It's pretty uncomfortable, and so yeah, he was very clear on that. But what he needed to be reminded of was well, and then he needed to be given like a thing that Addison gave me, which was just very tactical. It was like, well, if you don't know what you're doing, then you just ask. And it's actually more important to get into the practice of asking and specifically what to ask than it is to actually like than it is in the moment. So if you're not regularly asking, like, God, how do I be successful today? What do I do next? Or what do I do first? If you're not in the habit of asking that, you're going to end up defaulting to either skill sets or habits that you have pre-existing, not actually related to or relevant to the task or job at hand. And when there's that mismatch, now all of a sudden things get called into question. And this is just very practical, right? So it's like him going and putting on a pastor's hat is because he's gone to church his whole life and he's pastored people. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have pastored people. Now, pastoring people is just walking alongside them for an extended period of time if they're going through something, right? Like I'm pastoring somebody right now, and I'm not a pastor as far as job is concerned, right? And so I would say that, yeah, like if we were to use that as an example of like splitting the line and being like, okay, here's the job that's at hand. This is what you've been called to do, but then here's your purpose, right? And so what the question becomes is in this like in this lane, are you clear? Right? Here, what is your purpose? To advance the kingdom of heaven. How? By announcing who the king is and the benefits of submission to that king. That's literally it. Like, Jesus is Lord. Here's what happened if you proclaim that with your mouth and believe it in your heart. For you.
Yeah.
And then because of it, because of the benefits for you, now all of a sudden all these people around you receive like the benefits of you receiving benefits, right? Heal people, hurt people. That idea? Yeah. Okay. And then the job though, like that's where I'm asking the question is like, what do you want? Like your job is, I don't know what your job is, right? I don't know what you're being called to in this season of your life. I don't know how you think about it. And so my question, because I don't need to define what a job is, right? Job could be working at the post office. A job could be uh, uh, building operations for a ministry. A job could be church planting. A job, like anything where you're getting paid in exchange for your time, like, or not getting paid in exchange for your time, but it is the assignment that you are currently on. So, like, raising kids is a job. Like, there's skills to be developed. Like, and if you don't have those skills, then it's very hard all the time. It's very hard already, but like it's very hard if you are not in active skill development around raising young children. So that is my question. What do you want?
And
Like, what do you want in this lane? Do you under and then the second question is do you understand what I'm saying in this lane, the purpose lane versus like the job lane? Yeah. And then we can kind of unpack Addison, why Addison's point is because he kind of already closed with the opening, which is like to be okay in like the little things and like how the little things are acts of worship. Because the text that we would actually dive into here is the parable of the talents. Like
yeah.
the parable of the talents is uh the parable of the talents is like the text to actually sit in. And so I think that the assumption, as you guys are writing, right? Like, what do you want? Like, the assumption for the parable of the talents is like, oh, you like you've done really good with one, and now you have 10, right? Like you've done really good with one, and now you have 10. But that doesn't factor in the context of your environment. So
Yep.
like one person, you could literally be the CEO of Apple and the one person that God is like, you are going after this person. This is why I made you the CEO of Apple, is like your assistant. And then as soon as that job is done and the investment is done, he's like, okay, no, you're no longer the CEO of Apple. Step down. Like
Mhm.
that is my point. Is like context is the parable of the talents does not factor in environmental context or circumstances. It factors only in people.
Mm.
It factors only in how many people he's giving you in the moment, right? So that's about purpose. Calling has nothing to do with that. Call like your like job to be done, your job at hand has nothing to do with the purpose like that he is like shepherding you in. So
Hey, Joy, come on up. As Joy's popping up here, I just wanted to say to your point of asking, children practice the doing and mostly don't obsess over the learning. Like children learn all the time, right? But if they have a question, they'll just ask you, and then they'll try to implement it. We as adults somehow get it flipped. We try to practice the learning, but not the doing, because we're so afraid of failure, right? And so, like in Will Murphy's example of being like a hospital chaplain, it's like, yeah, he knows the pastoral work, and it's coming through, and he's doing. So what he needs to do is ask God about the learning, and practice the doing, and not flip it, because the anxiety around, like, is this right, is because we think we need to learn it first, and God says, I will lead you into all truth, right? And so, like a child, we're led into all truth, and then we just do it. Um, Not haphazard, like not just like whatever, but like by submission, we ask God and let Him teach us, right? And the biggest thing is just keep asking. So anyway, I just wanted to add that to from earlier. But Joy, welcome up. Thanks for popping up here.
Hey, yeah, this is a very uh relevant topic for me at the present because I've just gone through like a year and a half of break from my profession as like a hospital chaplain and burnout, and trying to sort of sort out, first of all, to recover physically and mentally from the burnout, and then to sort of sort out what should come next for me. So I've had to kind of chew, and I definitely don't have this all figured out. But I've had to chew on this idea of like separating uh, like whatever the application or job related is of the purpose, or like, the reason God has given me for being on the planet. Like how that is lived out could be different. I may switch jobs, or I may switch contexts, or I may switch roles. Like that's going to look different. So, like, I guess what I'm getting at is when that context or job, part of it is taken away, whether it's paid or unpaid, for the stay-at-home moms that are like doing full-time ministry but never get a cent of money for it, per se, or situations that are unique like that. Um, yeah, I think I definitely had to reevaluate, because when that was taken away, then it's like, okay, so what is that? And have I lost it because the job is gone? My conclusion is no, because, I see ministry, or like ministry, I guess is a loaded term, but I see like being open to being like a light for Jesus in the world, maybe is a better way to say it, whether it's through your job or through your personal life, uh, is, like, I'm the person that I am, regardless of whether the job is there or not. So, like, that doesn't change. The way that I live it out might change. But yeah, I would just throw out, like, I'm very much struggling to define what going forward looks like, and to parse out some of the pieces. Um, I would say for myself personally, my passion is some kind of combination of outdoors, um, combined with spirituality, like whether it's sort of spiritual direction, or like coping tools, or a manual prayer. There's like many different, forms or tools that could be brought into that. I don't have a way currently that it's not like there's 10 or a bunch of jobs that I can just apply for that have that. So it may be more of a long term, like, I do something that's in that direction that is available now, and like work long term on developing it. But I don't know. You guys can give feedback, or the group can give feedback as is helpful. But that's kind of where I'm at with these pieces.
So, is the answer to your question in summation, like, you want a more definitive, like, do you want a more definitive job? Is that like what you want right now? That includes those kind of elements?
Yeah, a way to get there, something a little more defined. Like at present, I'm pretty isolated, so I don't even feel like there's it feels like that part of me has kind of gotten lost just because I don't have like an arena at present for those skills to be used.
Yeah,
I don't know if that makes sense.
totally.
Uh,
Yeah.
So the issue, so okay, um, uh, like, so the issue that every single person in this room faces is that we are subject to a game we didn't sign up for. Like, so when it comes to a job, right? Like when I say a job, I literally mean here is something that needs doing and you're the one to do it. So like raising a child is a job. But like the game that I'm talking about that you're subject to that you didn't sign up for is the game of the markets, the game of money, right? You were born and all of a sudden you got to pay taxes for the rest of your life, right? As soon as you make a dollar. You were born and you bought a house and all of a sudden you have to pay taxes for the rest of your life. Like you were born and then all of a sudden you owe student loans and now you got to go get a job. Like the game of money is something that we're not supposed to be playing. And so there's like this tertiary element in this conversation that needs to be addressed, right? Because like what passion emerges when you've overcome the fear of looking foolish or the fear of failure through repetition uh, in pursuit of your own curiosities, right? So you were like, Joy, I'm gonna go outside. I'm gonna go up this cliff. I'm gonna look around. I'm gonna go further. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it over here. That is literally how you develop passion. It's a pursuit of curiosities on the other side of fear, right? And so usually what happens, and so in heaven, right, if there's no marketplaces, no market, and we are not using money as an arbiter of our own trust of one another, because I just trust you because there's no reason for me not to trust you because God is good and we believe him and all that good stuff and the fall never happened or we're in recreated heaven, right? There's no reason for me not to trust you. There's no arbiter. There's no money that's required. And so what would end up happening is you would pursue your curiosities for millennia, and the natural consequences of pursuing your curiosities is you develop a passion for it. Like, I'm hype about going up this cliff. You know who's not hype about going up a cliff? Me. Like, like I'm not hype about going up no cliff. Like, you could not convince me to go on a hike with you, Joy, for the sheer pleasure of it. It would take you a long time to convince me. Like, so now I don't have a passion for it. I don't also have a curiosity for it. But what you will find over a millennia of pursuing your curiosities is that the natural thing that happens to a child when they pursue their curiosities and they use their imaginations and they find a deep sense of joy or they find a deep sense of peace or they find a deep sense of elatedness in achieving the summiting of a cliff, right? Is they want to yell at the people that they love, hey, check this out. Hey, like, come here. Look at this. Look at this bush, right? Like, look at this bush and this fox. Look at this fox I found. This fox is so sweet. Wow. Like, you guys should see the color of this fox. That is the natural consequence of pursuing your curiosities, igniting your imagination, and actually just living a life of play, which is what the kids do, right? Kids, their job between being able to walk and basically all through like period as long as they're considered children is to play and to use their imagination. Even like school is a mode of play, right? Like where if you're doing it right and it's not purely rote memorization in preparation for you having an industrialized job in a factory somewhere, like school is play. Like what you're learning is a form of play. So I would make the case that like your natural inclination, right? And now you're trying to figure out how to monetize it. And figuring out how to monetize it is taking like a kid's like playscape, right? And being like, how can I charge for this joint? Like, how can I figure out how to charge people to access my imaginary fort playland that I've been building for hours? Or like how like it's like a kid making it's like Orson drawing something for Addison and being like, "Dad, look at this art. This is amazing,
twenty
huh?
dollars.
It's a turtle." And then Addison's like, "Yeah, let me see it." And he's like, $5.
I would die laughing, and I would pay him because I'm like, you got a good track ahead of you, bud.
Right? And so I think that the first thing to do is to be clear in that delineation. Is like there is work for money and there is the game of money, and we should be very considerate of if whether or not our passions are meant to merge with the game of money, or if they are meant to stay alone, if they are meant to stay solo, because you can have a deep and rich like passion for outdoor exploration and connecting with God and just lead people for free into those spaces, right? And like do that, and that is how you are advancing the king. This is where it gets interesting. That is how you are advancing the kingdom in a job that doesn't pay you any money while you work a job that pays you very well, like becoming a machine learning engineer for OpenAI. You can get paid $400,000 a year for that, like, and then just lead people on nature hikes and pray with them. Like, do you see what I'm getting at? Where it's like to it's not siloed to like, oh, our job has to, like, and I think the point that I'm making here is like it is there is not a specific like route in which this takes place, but God always is. God is not confusing. And so if he's not the author of confusion, like, is it a matter of, are you confused about what to do next? Are you hesitating and you already know? Like, is it right? Like, is there a delay or a wait because the hesitator in you what doesn't like the idea of like going back and getting a job like in the space that you're in? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, all of these questions, like it yeah, my point is that we don't need to conflate our passions or our like our where we play with where we work. Like, if our actual job is from children, be like little children, is to play, be like little children is to play. You don't get paid to play. Like, anybody that's in esports, like, that's a lie. The reason why that exists is to create a cookie. It is not a sustainable economy. Like, there's like 20 dudes at the top of the esports world, and they're the ones that make all the money and nobody else makes any money. Like, that is not a sustainable economy. That's not like doctors, right? Where there's like a serious demand, and there's like there needs to be supply to satisfy that demand across the country. Like, that is smoke and mirrors. That's not actually playing for money. That's them. That's people trying to sell you more video games. Like,
Well, and it's like
some
if you look at it, any sport like that, right? Like the actual sport is the job because like it's no longer if you're passionate enough to a point of anything you do, right? And you don't mind the thousands of hours, the 1,000 hours it takes to get really good at something beyond what would be like the casual play level, and you take it to like a profession, then that isn't it's not like the same quite, right? It can be for those people that are just like crazy obsessed, right, with with the game they play, but like most of the time it is actually profession, right?
yeah.
And you'd be surprised that they love that game, but they also have other things that they're passionate about that they put tons of time into as well, right? Anyway, continue.
Yeah, and so Joy, my counsel to you, there's a couple of lanes that you can pick at, that you can threads that you can pull on, right? If you're okay, so let's go with the most obvious thread and like the ideal thread, and probably the thing that you haven't thought about, and or maybe have potentially toyed around with, and I'll actually spell out how hard it is. So you could so there's okay, let me backtrack. Okay, so there's four levers
Mm.
in which the markets, right? So like the game of money, like there's four primary levers where a single human being can have any sort of leverage in the market. The first lever is human. The second lever is capital, money. The third lever is media or content, media, right? So like a recorded image. And then the third, and that could be a photograph, that could be a graphic, whatever, right? And then the fourth one is code. So software, the stuff that we're using right now. Those are the only like the primary and you could make a case that code is tech. So you could go one layer and go hardware software, right? Like so a robot, right? Like a robot serving your McDonald's meal is leverage, yeah. And when I say leverage, I mean that
Do
one unit
something
of effort will,
faster for someone else than they could do it
yeah,
themselves,
yeah,
or
and a
better, or more
one unit.
efficient, whatever. Yeah.
Yep. One unit in produces multiple units out. Yeah. So it's not a one-to-one ratio. So it's like one unit of effort in chopping a piece of wood, right? The effort in the what the yield is very relative to the effort. And so with leverage, the effort in is not relative to the units out. So like one unit in could potentially produce hundreds of units out. So this is like the basics of a capitalistic marketplace, right? And when I say that, like the lane in which you are in, the thing I would counsel on if you're like, hey, I'm gonna go into the forest and pray with folks, right? Is there's two ways to do it. Is you could go one to some, and you could basically set up like a business where you take people on nature guide, like you take people on tours, and you are a guide, right? And you lead groups of people into places that where if you're the expert and they're the beginner, and it's Christian in nature, so there's like these points of prayer in it, right? Like that lever, that like human lever, is very low. So how you would like so you would have to figure out the economics of like leading group tours, right? And I'm like, man, that's okay, right? Like, or you could make content, and so you could get into media, and you could create like an account in which you're demonstrating like the visuals of going out in nature, and then like just praying for people while you're out there. Like both are very, very difficult. One is a media business in which you need to learn social algorithms. You need to learn how to make videos. You need to have, you don't need like super technical equipment, but you need to learn how to make videos, and you need to learn how to capture people's attention online, and you need to learn how to grow an account. Like to the point where it's enough attention, and you need to understand the economics of attention on these platforms. And so you would need to understand all of that in order to build a living wage for yourself. The other side of it, and it could be some mix of both, the other side of it is like, how do I get leads that are Christian, that are interested in being outside and being led by me, like into nature, and like what are they willing to pay? Like what is the elasticity of their willingness to pay for this experience? Both incredibly hard, just as hard as going back and being a chaplain at a hospital, just as hard, right? Like if not harder. The question becomes, what type of hard do you want? Because like it is far easier to take your resume and just go find need. Like, hey, there's a need for a chaplain at this hospital. Here's my resume. Like, I'm well qualified for this and I can do the job, right? Versus to identify marketplace need and then like aggregate that need towards you, like, and figure out basically all of the mechanics of running a business. So I think that's purely solving for like paycheck in the bank, right? Like, and again, like that might be just a conversation with the Lord where now you have all of these options in front of you, and like the question just becomes like, how do I be successful here in feeding myself and putting a roof over my head, and what do I do next, right? And that specific of a question is like, God, what do I do next? Like what will be how do I be successful in, again, like the problem that you're solving. Like, what do you want? Like the problem that you're solving, which is like a concrete vocation that you're not going to hate, right? And what do I do next? And so again, every lane is freaking hard. Like, and if you look like, so how I would think about this is like short and long time horizons, and then like how, and then you would just think, how do I reduce risk, right? So a short time horizon, like content creation, right? So if you're like going, I'm going to start a TikTok account about nature and prayer, like, and that's what I'm going to do because TikTok pays the most next to YouTube, because that's research that you would know if you looked it up, right? And so you look there and you're like, okay, cool. Short time horizon, like the I might be able to make some coin, but I've never shot a video of myself. I know how to hike, like, but then I don't know how to like script, and I don't know how to like document and then write a script over the document. And again, this is like great content. I've seen plenty of this that's in other lanes that would be phenomenal. But like you're basically just documenting your whole day, and then you write a script and you read the voiceover of the script while you splice together like the footage of you walking around, and you close it with a prayer, right? Like of some epic landscape. Like the what I'm talking about in the short term is like how much money can I make, right? So per million views, you make about 100, like $200 on TikTok. I think something like that, right? Like it's I don't quote me on this, but like you can research it. So he's like, okay, cool. Like here are my costs. Here's my cost of living. Like this is something I'm being called to in the short term. Can I make this work? Probably not, right? But in the long term, if you figure that out, that skill is extremely valuable 3 years down the line. Like if you just do it consistently and you have like a day job, and like this is my side job, which I'm learning the skill of. So it's like the equivalent of like transitioning from a nurse to a machine learning engineer, right? Like where I'm going to take nighttime boot camp classes to learn how to program large language models while I'm working my nursing job, right? Like there is, in the short term, it's like the risk of just doing that by itself is very high. In the long term, like stretch the time horizon out, and like doing that, you could potentially reach a ton more people that are interested in nature and want to, and like need to hear you pray, like need to hear you pray a blessing over their life, right? Is that a lane you want to go? Maybe, right? In the chaplaincy space, you look at the short term, and you're like, oh, this is gonna suck, right? But the risk is very low. Like like you already know what the space looks like. The risk is very, very low. It's they need this. I know how to do it. I'm still serving people. Like it's not all bad, right? Like long term though, if you had no other viable options, then long term you stretch out that micro time horizon, and like you stretch it out over 30 years, and you're like, I don't want to do this. Yeah. Like, so I would think, okay, short term, long term time horizons and risk. And what is it? How do I pursue what I'm interested in pursuing? Because interest is always a good thing, right? Interest, like, you know what passion is? Passion is not how much do I like something, it's how much suffering I'm willing to have to see it through. That's actually why that's actually the actual definition of passion is like how much suffering am I willing to put up with, am I willing to face to see this thing through. Yeah. And so if you're passionate about it, how much suffering are you willing to see, and you want to make this your job, the question is how much suffering are you willing to face in order to see it through. And you could literally calculate that. You could be like, okay, my cost of living is $5,000 a month, and that's with a 20% cushion on all of my fixed and variable expenses, right? Cool. I need to make $5,000 a month consistently for 6 months doing whatever it is that I love for me to comfortably quit my job. Like, there you go. So, this is the suffering you need to face in order to see your passion through. Yeah. And then the conversation here is, where is God in all of this? And this is why this is where it's very specific. The distinction here is your purpose is you're going to run into people while you're suffering through the pursuit of your passion. Your like your purpose doesn't change. So if you encounter people in the chaplaincy, there's going to be need of the spirit of the living God inside of you that only that spirit can satisfy. Just like if you're over here and you're on the other side of achieving that, like there's going to be people that you encounter, embodied people, not just people on the internet that need like gospel, right? So, yeah, is that helpful, Joy? Is that landing?
I mean, it's helpful in terms of things to think about, but it's like kind of minus the market pieces, things I've thought about, but like it's just thinking and I don't have solutions.
So
So I would think less about like a fixed solution and think more about like technical things, right? So like when you talk about jobs, like literally the reason why you have to have a job is because you have bills to pay. Like
Yeah,
you have bills to
exactly.
pay for food, for right? And so what then becomes the question is like, is there a way? Because there's all like so again with outdoor without like outdoor exploration and prayer, like the monetization mechanism or like the way you would make money off of outdoor and prayer is either through media or through guiding groups of people or both, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
and so you have to, so this is an underdeveloped skill. You don't have the skill to monetize media or to monetize
Mhm.
group tours. So those are two different lanes that you need to ask God about. Which lane do I go in if this is what you want? Because he's down for what you want. Like I've heard so many times from him, it's like like I will bless anything that you do, but you cannot move from fear. You cannot move from lack. I'll bless anything that you do, but you cannot move from fear or lack. Like, and so you have to ask him. It's like, okay, well, this is a skill you don't have. And so you have to develop that skill, which means there's tons and tons of reading, tons and tons of podcasts, tons and tons of listening, tons and tons of research for you to do to figure out how to make money leading people into into nature, and it's been done before, right? Or making content. That's also been done. Like, but it's just a space that you don't know anything about. So now you have the hard work of learning new skills. Which skill? Which one first? If it's both, which one first? What's the sequence, right? And where do I go first? What do I do to be successful? What do I do next? Yeah. And so that becomes the gap in which it needs to be filled. And that requires investing time, a lot of time, right? And then in the meantime and in between time, you're still going to encounter people. So you're still going to be living on purpose, right? But like if the calling side of thing, and like you still need to feed yourself. So like what are you going to do in between time? Is it just DoorDash? Is it something simple that's like mindless so you can actually focus all of your mental energies on figuring out this new skill that you're acquiring, right? Like because again, when I say skill, I mean the monetization skill, why it is not inherent in us because it is not inherently in heaven.
mhm.
It's made up. You have to learn the game. Like, and these games, there's like base money games, and then there's like contextual money games. So like the money game of attention is different than the money game of like food. How do I charge for this cheese? How much should I charge for this cheese? Completely made up. Like it is completely made up, and that is a completely different game than how do I make money aggregating people's attention? Like
Mm.
does that make sense? Joy, like it's new
Yeah.
undeveloped skills.
Yeah, it makes sense. So like I'm just trying to figure out what I do in the meantime to
Yeah.
actually
So
And
pay bills and rent and things.
mhm. I was just gonna say. So yeah. Then the question really is the twofold question is you start with the statement of Lord, this is what I like to do. This is what I want to do. If I could spend all my time doing X, Y, Z, this is what I would do. I'd like to make it into a job. How do I start developing those skills? And then the second one, the most pressing one, is what do I do in the meantime? And then it's like, if it's as simple as like, go bag groceries, go do DoorDash, go whatever, or go back and do
or web
chaplaincy
Uber.
and suffer for this short time to get the money to fund what you need to do, and then you just
Yeah.
go. And wherever, honestly, if you're open for it, wherever God sends you, if you're like, I really don't want to do chaplaincy again, wherever God sends you, he's going to have people in mind he wants you to bless while you're there. So if you're open to it, he will send you wherever so that it's also a blessing while he's setting up something. So God loves to set up blessings for other people when he's blessing us. Like, he sees the roadmap from where you want to be and where you're at now, and he's like a GPS. He's like, if I can route her through these towns and these areas, I can bless 40 people on the journey and change their
Yeah.
lives. And he's
Yeah.
like, God isn't necessarily interested in the most efficient path to get you the blessing that you want as much as he is the most efficiency for God. It's kind of like on Google Maps, where you ever notice how it stopped saying the fastest route and now it says the most efficient route? They did that
Mm-hmm.
because they were tired of people speeding because they would try to beat the time estimate. God doesn't, he doesn't define efficiency as the fastest route to your blessing. He defines efficiency as the most people he can use to have you bless them on the way to your blessing, because he wants all his children to prosper, right? And so really the level of suffering and the time it takes to that horizon is dependent on how much you're willing to submit and allow him to work, knowing in the meantime that if it's taking longer or it doesn't look the way you want, he will still give you, trusting that he'll still give you an outlet for the natural desire and passion you have for like nature and praying for people and helping them and all of this, and have his cake and eat it too, and bless other people. And so it really comes down to
Yeah.
like, what do I do for money right now? Just something simple and just whatever he leads. And then how do I start working so that this can be what I do exclusively? Because here's the cool thing too. We're not wired for the money game, so we don't think this way. But whatever God ends up having you do for your passion, you could very well be doing that for eternity. Like
Yeah.
like even as who he's talking, I'm thinking here, like, and God's just speaking and I'm listening. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna have you write for eternity. God's like, you're gonna be a writer. What are you gonna write? He's like, poems, like the nature of my character, how much you saved us. Like, doesn't matter. I'm gonna write on it. And because in our minds we're tempted to think like, this won't be a thing. It's like, yeah, hospital chaplaincy, no pain or sickness. Chaplaincy is gonna look a lot different, right? It's not gonna be in a hospital setting, but ambassadorship for the kingdom, like if you were to go that route, that'll still exist. Nature, yes, of course. Glorying at God's nature and showing other people the cool things that you found in his all of his universe of creation, that'll be all of eternity. That'll be every single day. And so God would love to have you not only have it your side thing and your hobby, but your calling transition right into eternity, and you just keep doing it. Just drop the money side. Because honestly, we didn't want to pick up the money side anyway, but we play the game, right? So in the future, if you really want to go hard, and this is what like I'm thinking, I'm gonna pray now, right? It's, Lord, what do you want me doing for eternity? Like, what would I love to do for eternity? And if the answer is have people in nature and pray, heck yeah, he's gonna work that out. But he's gonna use it to bless as many possible brothers and sisters in Christ as he can, to the level of suffering you're willing to give in the meantime on the road to that, because he has
Yeah.
plans to prosper you, and they will come about. They have come about, right? Like, it's set. It's done. He's gonna bless you. He has blessed you, right? They will come about, but he's interested in a whole lot more than just even the individual passion and blessing for you. So yeah, it's what do I do? Like, what do I do in the immediate to pay bills, and how do I get started on the next thing? And then you just keep asking those same questions and shift as he answers, and then just go. And yeah, maybe it's DoorDash. I don't know. It could be
Yeah,
whatever.
and so whatever rabbit hole he's gonna lead you, like whatever rabbit hole you're gonna go down, because it may just be your choice, right? Like again, I will bless you with whatever you choose. Just don't move from fear or lack, right? Like, is just being ready to learn and being really uncomfortable in that space. Because if it is about figuring out how to make money off of doing what you really enjoy doing, you will be learning a ton of skills you don't currently have.
Yeah.
So, uh, let me give an example for myself, right? So, like when I asked that question to myself, like, what do you want? I was like, ultimately, what I want is to have enough influence to have the kind of influence where an idea either floats across my desk or an idea that emerges from me or my wife or discussions amongst friends, and I have the network and the resources to immediately put that idea into action. So like that is what I want as far as a job is concerned. Is like we had this idea about my wife and our senior graphic designer had this idea about a bubble tea shop, and like I was like, this is a really good idea. Like I currently do not have, probably I would estimate the $500,000 to $700,000 to build the initial concept unit, and the best place to do it would be in Asia. And but if I had that network and those resources, I would immediately push this into play. I would immediately hit play on it because it's just a funny, fun, and very like interesting idea to pursue. So like I like that question of like what do I want? Like for all of you, it's a worthwhile question to ask. It's a worthwhile question to ask and just be honest with the Lord about, like, to freely, openly say, like, I want the kind of influence to where I can make ideas a reality just with a phone call, just with a pitch deck. Like that's a big that's a big thing. Now, that's a big thing, right? Now I want to transition over to a small thing. And so a small thing, like small things on the outside in look and feel small because, so like from the inside out, uh, a boba tea shop is a business. That's like a medium sized thing, right? Like in the, but that's defined by the world. Like from a kingdom perspective, what is actually a big thing? It's people. Like, but from the outside in, it being defined, like people is like the smallest thing, right? And so I want to hand it over to Addison because like the whole point of this subject matter is the small things.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I want to him to speak freely on that. Joy,
Yeah.
I'm going to
So
move you out.
yeah. Yeah. So the reason this came about too, praying on it, and we were going to talk about today, was faithfulness in the small things, in recognition of this topic matter. So when you understand purpose and calling, and like we have the same purpose, the calling can be to a profession, and the calling can be something specific, but it can be exercised in different venues. So your calling could be getting people to fall in love with nature and God's image in nature. But the venue in which it's the exercise in which it's expressed can be media, could be guided tours, could be a bunch of different things, right? And sometimes we mix up job and calling as well, and they're not the same thing, right? So in the meantime of where I'm trying to get, right? So my calling of writing, and specifically on as God has solidified very recently for bigger than me as we transition to the new year, healing in all shapes and sizes, when physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, like what that healing for people, right? Kingdom perspective healing. Um, as I'm writing and doing these things, I work from home, as you guys know. There's always my super messy bed and bins piled up with kids' clothes and whatever. And I got my 4 kids, and it's chaos, and there's like interruptions all the time, and life's just busy. Um,
These
and
weird framed shirts.
yeah, Huy is the most opposite sports memorabilia person I've ever met. I don't. Anyway,
I don't know anything
yes,
about sports. It
yeah.
just looks like a framed shirt.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's what my kids are like. You got that shirt? I'm like, it's a jersey, but yes. They'll call it a shirt till the day they die. I don't think I'll ever convince them. Um, yeah. So that type of stuff, right? We're in this little townhouse, and we're falling out the windows and all this stuff. Um, but so with that chaos, there's obviously a lot of work. Um, oh, Joy, you might have to jump out and back in. You can still hear me, right, Hui? My audio's still
Yeah.
here. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might have to jump out and back in real quick, Joy. Sorry about that. Um, there's a lot of work in building a business. Like Hui and I, we get bigger than me as just a media company. Hui has another Thought Dogs we're working on. We have our design company Redford Gates. We have the parent company Thankful Verse, So it's like building two media brands and a couple companies at the same time while we both have 4 kids and work from home. It's a lot. So with that can come frustration. I built a company for about 5 years beforehand, and I could tell you that was like 80 hours a week or more, right? And that was before I had our first son, and then right after. It's insane amount of work, but during that time, I didn't have a great work-life balance, which I know it's anyway. Best way to describe it right now. But I'd worked too much. I wasn't around, my wife and our oldest son at the time, and it was not fun. It was bad. So I know how much time it takes to build a business. However, now working from home, in theory, for 40 hours a week, I'm probably lucky to get 20 most weeks because it's kids fighting, accidents, school pickups, doctor's appointments, something breaks on the house, uh, endless things, right? And what can come up with that is not resentment. I mean, resentment's not a bad word for it. Frustration that could turn into resentment for not being able to work on my writing, not being able to work on the business, admin, all this stuff. Where I'm like, I feel like this is my calling, especially with the writing, because I'm like, I'm trying to reach people, I'm trying to help people, I'm talking about healing. I know this is what God wants me to do, right? And so, what God has been showing me more and more and reminding me actively is my calling right now, why I'm working from home, why I am doing this as I'm doing it, and Huy is too for that matter, is because our calling is to our family, right? Like, our calling is family and then the business we're building, and God does not want, for the sake of playing the game of money, to flip that at the sacrifice of our family. But the thing about it is, the world does not give you that signal, right? Because what's the external pressure? The external pressure is Queen and I just want to be able to explain what we freaking do to our parents in one conversation and be able to be like, this is what we do, because we don't punch a clock. Like, we work for ourselves, right? So the lie the enemy would turn would say that if my kids are interrupting and they're pushing against what I'm doing right now and not letting me get hours in to like build this thing, which is for their sake, like the frustration would come out of it, then the external lie comes in and says, I'm not fulfilling my calling. Well, that's the external one that says, like, I'm not doing a job where I'm getting paid and punching a clock so people don't see me as producing value. But then internally, the enemy would come along and be like, I know my calling is to help advance God's kingdom through my writing and through media. But they, at the current moment, when they interrupt or whatever, aren't helping me get to that calling. So the enemy would be like, even God wants you to do this, and they're getting in the way of it. So they're actually hindering you from fulfilling your mission for the kingdom. And then the flip would be to say that they are the issue, and that my calling is truly to the exterior and not to them as husband and a priest of the home, as the Bible says, and not first and foremost that. So what I've been seeing in my calling, right, purpose and calling, because there's this issue, like exactly what Joy brought up, is this thing of like, what do I do to get paid, and what do I do because I'm passionate? Like, I'm at the stage where I'm like, I know both those things, I know what they are, right? However, I keep getting pressed with this lie that says that the calling of me being living a quiet, as the Bible says, living a quiet life and stewarding my family and being there for my kids and helping my wife in this season isn't enough. Because I know the ultimate North Star. I know what I'm aiming for because God has laid it out. But the time being, I wouldn't be happy with it because it seems like there's all these roadblocks. So ultimately, it's like, what do you want? Like, our grand question, what do you want? Right? I'm like, I want to write. But then God points it out and it's like, no, what you really want is satisfaction in the blessings I've given you and how I've stewarded your life. And you are missing the forest for the trees here because in the moments of trying to get where you want to be, you're neglecting the present. Like, your calling is actually like when your kids come in and someone's had a pee accident or someone just had a fight or whatever else, your calling is actually to step in and help, not to add another hour to then potentially get $1 to get the business running, whatever. Because if I'm believing that that's ultimately end all be all, then I'm ignoring where God's put me right now for a reason and how he even got me here, right? So what I wanted to come to this whole conversation about calling and purpose and everything else is, I don't know if God has a message for some of you guys in here for this, there is a space in which you can know your calling and miss it in the middle of it because it just doesn't line up with this grand uh, picture of what it seems like the world would tell you need to have, right? So coming back to it as a parent, right? Who he was mentioning, your job as a parent is not one that gets paid, but it needs to be done. And it's easy to think about it because if you didn't do it, you'd have to pay someone else to do it. So therefore, it is a job. Like if you'd be you'd be doling out money to someone else to do exactly what you're doing. So it is a job, right? But that diminishes those things in our lives like that. The factor of people, like when we're in eternity, what's going to be there? Our passions, yes, but people. So the investment is people, right? Like our purpose is advancement of the kingdom, which starts with people, and we don't inverse that to then be more important or to be less important than our calling, right? Our calling is the avenue in which God is going to have us bless people. So all that to say, God has been working on my heart to understand what it means to, in the middle of your calling and trying to get from A to B, to be the blessing in the small moments. Like heaven doesn't. Heaven is just as exciting. Like for Joy, right? Like the moment she gets to the point where she can replace her day job with going in nature and I don't know, maybe it's videos, maybe it's tours or whatever, and praying with people and like helping people know God better. Heaven will rejoice just as much as the day that she prays with someone randomly she meets at like a coffee shop because they're just there and she gets to talk to them and not get paid for it. It's not part of her job. It's not whatever, right? Because that is our true purpose. And so, yeah, I would just encourage you guys, like, because I've had to be corrected on this. Don't miss the forest for the trees on this. Like, you'll get there. God has a plan to bless you. He'll bless many people along the way. But even in the middle of searching for the calling, if there's a transition, your existence, like children play. They don't have to be told to play. They don't have to have deadlines to play. They play. Your existence is this. So coming full circle, Joy, what I would say is you're feeling this need for this outlet. Like you have this passion building, you have this understanding, you have this thing, you have this what you want to do. There is going to be ways that God in the immediate will have you do it, and it's probably a lot simpler and direct than you think. And it doesn't have to be tied to the paycheck. It won't be tied to like you could start doing like as a complete amateur, you could start doing like gathering friends and then trying to go into forest today. Like and the only thing that would stop you from doing it is the idea that like you're not getting paid for it and you're not a professional and you're not any good at it. And God's like, okay. Like, okay, learn. Just have fun with it, right? Same thing for me. It's like, oh, but I gotta get paid with writing. I gotta do whatever. And God's just like, yeah, just love on your kids. Love on your kids. You can write about that too, but move in it, right? Um. Anyway, all over. But yes. Oh, Huy, you're muted, by the way. Hopefully, I haven't been talking long.
What Addie is saying is there's sequences to calling.
Thank you. Yes.
It's just a sequence. It's
Yep.
what like so priority is not plural. It's singular.
Yep.
So if in this season your priority is your children, then make it your priority. Everything comes second. And here's the thing about it coming second, anything coming second, it doesn't mean you don't shepherd what you're given with excellence. It just means that you have to do less so you can do more where the priority is. Right? So let me use Kirsty as an example, and then we'll talk about with Jackson. I'm not sure. Jump out
Yeah.
and jump back in, log out and log back in. It's like swipe up on the app and close it, and then just jump back in. You should be able to hear.
We got the recording
it's
too,
an
so you
app.
can miss the gaps too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't have audio.
So vocation, right? So like you're calling, like what am I doing for a job? It's like, oh, I want to help people more hands-on. So that is, without diving too deep into this, right? Like the spiritual, like the fivefold ministry, like apostolic, pastoral, evangelistic, teaching,
Prophetic.
and what?
Prophetic.
And prophetic, right?
Hmm.
Like, if you want to help people and you want to be super hands-on, that feels very pastoral. Like, helping people and being very hands-on is very pastoral, right? So if that's what you want to do, and that maybe that's being a doula, right? Like that, and there's money in being a doula, right? Like that is that's like a want. That's like great. The Lord will bless you in that. If you want to do that, the Lord will bless you in it, right? But now we're talking about priority. So the very next part of this, but my other calling is to raise up my children in the way that they should go. So the actual correct phrasing for that would be my current priority is to raise up my children in the way that they should go. Why? Let me give you some psychology around this. Post like 7 or 8 years old, you are no longer your child's chief influence. Like their friends, their school, right? Like where they spend the most time in deep relationship with people is where the gravity of influence is going to be. So what's really interesting is there's a season in which your priority is raising up your children, right? In teaching them the way of the Lord, in teaching them what it means to be respectful, in teaching them what it means to submit to somebody that you trust, in teaching them what it means to face a consequence, right? A very real consequence of if you hit this person and you're 29, you're going to jail. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's real consequences in the world, and you're trying to train up your children in this safe like space to actually face those consequences when they're older, because ultimately as Christians our objective is not happy children, our objective is good children, right? And our objective is good children not for our sake but for the sake of the people they encounter when we are not around. That is actually the objective, is that they become a proxy for Jesus in the world, right? That is actually the objective. And so what I'm telling you is like the Lord has this season in which you are actually directly pouring into the child. But that season comes to an end. And the next season is about you being very hyper conscious of their social groups. And actually, like, because they have learned to obey you out of respect for you because they trust you and they love you, right? And like they don't need to understand right away. They just need to know that like mom is actually looking out for me, and I understanding will come, right? But if you then say, nah, stop hanging out with those kids are gonna mess you up. Like they'll be like, you know, mom hasn't been wrong. And like I love her and I trust her. Like maybe this isn't good for me. Right? Like you're really more in the next season, like pouring into their social environments, etc. So my point to saying this is priority can actually like so it's like priority plus capacity. How much do I need to do in with this priority? So if there is a clear transition like post 8, that the capacity in which you need to be pouring in gets way reduced, it can maybe move from an urgent priority to a high priority, and then another like to an urgent priority, right? Like this needs to be done now and needs all of my attention, to like, hey, these are the rituals I need to follow. Like I need to think about like who are my kids hanging out with? I need to think about like what are they intaking in, like what are they consuming, right? That is influencing them. And I need to be able to speak into those influences. But then it becomes, you all of a sudden have all this liberated time because pouring into your children is not the chief priority anymore. And doula becomes, okay, now it's time for me to, now the thing that takes priority is becoming a doula, right? And so in the meantime and in between time, right, you got to work remotely. Now, to think about working remotely, that's not the priority. Like you're working remotely in service to your children. However, in job, it is always a temptation to make it priority.
Stuff for social media.
Mm.
It's always a temptation, right? And so I will say that that if it is a temptation, you need to be able to recognize that it's a temptation, because we are not working, like we are working it in order to ensure that our kids are secure. but the job itself will tempt you into thinking that it is the priority. It's not.
Yeah. And that for like, situation working from home, whatever, and I'm kind of, bouncing in and out all the time. I feel like when I sit down at my desk, so I've got a picture here. I put this up a couple days ago. A post-it note that I cut out, and it literally just says "Be the best dad." And so when I sit down at work, I'm reminded the point of it. And so yes, there's my calling to a message and a specific advancement of the kingdom, and I do that in every facet of my life, not just behind a desk. But then when I sit down, I'm like, yeah, that's the point. And so I reorients myself to why I'm sitting, and then it also helps me work better because I'm like, okay, if I have so many hours, like I need to focus in and make the most of the time I do have, so that when I'm off, I can actually be the best dad, right? Like not from a place of I need to become, but because I am, like act like it, right? So for me, oh yeah, so Christy, I actually don't think of it as a priority, but like I said, I just can't not work because of money. I definitely don't give my remote job my all. It does take away from me being able to focus on my children enough. Yeah, and it's not an easy situation. Um, so there's not the silver bullet of just like we'll just let the job lax. Like you have to, I'm sure there's certain metrics you have to hit. There's certain things you have to get done every day. But what it is um well, two facets. I'll speak from my experience. One is God sets my schedule, and so at every point when I'm working, for example, I'll be really real here. I'll be sitting here and I'll hear like the kids. Something happens. My wife's usually around, but like upstairs or downstairs, or she went downstairs to grab something or whatever. I'll hear something from my kids. I'll check in and I'll be like, okay, God, do I need to like intervene like right now, or can this wait, or is this like immediate? And I'll be like, you set the priority, like right now. Like if I have to drop everything, I will. Like, can I? And then I just listen. And it's like if it's a yes, I just go, right? So one, let him set the priority because ultimately, like we are stewarding our kids because they just like us, they were God's kids first, right? Like he gave them to us. Like we're stewarding them as parents. Like, what's your priority, Lord? Like, how do you set this? So one, check in with the Holy Spirit all the time on priority. And then two, excuse me. I'm blanking on the second one. I don't. But anyway, let me go back. But like God set your priority because ultimately you are going to have. That's it. You're going to have stress and anxiety in your life based on the enemy pressing on you, saying you're not either a not. He's. It's frustrating, but he will alternate between you're not a good enough worker, or you're not a good enough parent, and he'll pull whichever lever is going to make you feel more guilt, right? So ultimately, by letting God set your schedule and set what your priority is at every moment, and again, I'm speaking from truth. I'm speaking from how I felt, right? Because I know the enemy's tactic against me. It'll be one or the other, right? You have to let God set the priority for everything because if He's setting the priority, it is not on your shoulders to make the right call. It is on your shoulders to be obedient. Because otherwise, there will always be this space that says you made the wrong choice. You'll feel bad for missing a deadline, not responding to an email or text or call. You'll feel bad about not getting a project done, or you'll feel bad because your kids needed you and you weren't there, and you missed a critical moment or whatever else. And ultimately, you have to just let God set your priority and be like, I trust you with my job and my kids. And I trust you that you are going to prioritize my time and set my schedule in a way that maximizes what I can do for everything. But, and then give it up. Because I've, between my previous business and what I'm doing now and everything in between, it's been like the last 8 years. It has been the only way that I've found that I can not cross boundaries of overcommitting to one, not overcommitting to one or the other, like not overcommit to the kids, but not like say overworking. So God, like for example, God has been like, hey, you can't, like there is only certain times that I want you to work past after the kids go to bed, and I will tell you when that needs to happen, and outside of that you should not. Why? Because as a parent, I give my time, and then I think, oh, I'm behind on work, so I got to work late, but then I stay up late, and then I don't have enough sleep, and the next day I'm cranky, and then I snap at my kids, and then I work worse because I feel like guilt, and then it comes around, and I feel more guilty because the kids weren't happy, and I didn't get my work done, and blah, 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 blah. It just goes round and round. And God was like,
Yeah.
this is the carousel you're on. The only way to stop it is you have to radically submit and take your opinion of yourself from an employer work perspective or as a parent completely out of your own hands. You cannot hold it. It is not for you to hold. Your opinion of yourself cannot be, and this is the crazy thing, we're talking money. Money is a value exchange. It is saying one thing is more value or less value in relation to another. And what money does in our jobs and vocation, whatever, does is it starts us to grabbing onto the principle of money in exchange of value and applying it to ourselves. And we start weighing our value as a person and our identity via the external factors of an employer or even our children. And it's a crazy thing, positive or negative, your children cannot affect your feeling of how you value yourself, but they do, right? And that's the pressure point the enemy uses of leverage to make you feel guilty and then say you're less than. It has to be the father, and it's hard. It's a simple thing, but it's hard, and it's something that God is continually reminding me of, like all the time. Like, I get to say what you do, what you prioritize, and if and then the second follow-up part that's really important is after you do it, you have to submit the feeling to me. After I tell you, no, the kids are fine, your wife's taking care of it right now, or like they're fine, they'll be okay, you can let this one slide, you have to then take this feeling of guilt that would rise up and hand it to me. You have to trust me. You have to hand it to me and trust that I know what's best. Or if I'm in the middle, and Huy knows this all too well. If we're in the middle of a meeting together and we've got important things to discuss, and then God is just like, you have to drop this and go help. If I feel guilty about like, man, we haven't talked in days and we need to get this thing done, God's like, you have to give me that feeling and you have to submit it because it's not you obeyed what I told you, not didn't follow your feelings and just let it go. It was important because I said it was, right? And that's the key. Is like submit the schedule, give up your rights to your own determine your own value and your opinion of yourself to God, and then submit the feelings that the enemy would use to tempt you with, good or bad. Bad mostly afterward, right?
Yeah.
Wait.
So Addison is talking about your head and your emotional state. So your mind and your emotional state. I want to talk about your environment. So uh that's my cycle right now, right? Okay, so what I want to insert into that's my cycle right now is in any cycle there is a reward, whether it's artificial or it's organic, right? You're always pursuing a reward. And that is an emotional and mental thing, but the environment has everything to do with it. And so for example, right, what Addison said, it was like, you're staying up way too late. Like, why do you stay up late? Why is it that, like, so for a simple eating habit, right? Like after I clean the kitchen, I want to reward myself. So I have I have a scoop of ice cream. Yeah.
Mm.
And so that is an environmental issue. And so now all of a sudden, like every single night, the compound effects of eating one scoop of ice cream 7 days a week, 365 days a year is all of a sudden I'm way heavier than I thought I was. What am I doing? Why am I all of a sudden so all of a sudden I look different? Okay, it's because there is a desire for a reward that is environmentally satisfied. Like it's there, it's in your freezer, right? Just like, oh, the kids are asleep. Let me watch Netflix. Let me watch, etc. You're pursuing a reward, and the marketplace is always going to provide it. And so the thing to call into question is the waterfall effect of artificially rewarding yourself for a job well done, or artificially rewarding yourself for closing out a day, or artificial, like there is a trickle down effect. You not sleeping enough, not going to bed on time, and there is a waterfall effect to potentially having a shorter fuse with a child that is acting up, having a shorter fuse at work, etc. Right? I would say that in like why everything matters, like why the littlest details matter, and why like something, because like the point of this conversation is like it is okay to prioritize your children and do it because it is, or it's okay to for the Lord to say, hey, in this season your priority is something very small, like according to the wisdom of the world, right? Oh, I'm going to prioritize, and the example is children. Like, I'm going to prioritize shepherding my children, and like out like versus building $1 million real estate portfolio, right? Like I'm going to prioritize my children versus building anything, like
Mm.
building something out there that's objectively valued via the mechanism of money. So the the reason why it's important to is that the little things like prioritizing your children, right? What feels little is actually not little. It's extraordinarily difficult and complex. Like, what does it mean to prioritize your children? And I would say the short answer to that is to be present with them, like actually there, not somewhere else. Do you know how difficult that is? That's insanely difficult to actually be present. So, Kirsty, to speak into you, your job is the problem with your job is that it actually bleeds over. Jobs bleed over into time with family, right? So if your priority is your children and shepherding and stewarding your children, and you have to work for money, the question then becomes, how can I, with the time that I have, be completely present? Like actually fully there, right? Actually fully there. And hear me out on this. Fully there is the closest we will get to heaven on earth, to actually be completely present with someone. This is something C.S. Lewis actually talked about, which was like you have heaven in the future, and then what you have now is actually being present with people. Not past, not future, just here. That is heaven. Why? Because being present with somebody builds relationship. It actually builds trust. It actually builds connection. It actually, like, right? All those things. So check this out. The question then becomes what you have to diagnose why you're not present. And why you're not present could be something as simple as 2 extra hours of sleep. Could be something as simple as I'm not eating the way I should be eating, and I don't know how to eat right. So there's a skill deficit in planning your nutrition, right? It could be my muscles have atrophied after 4 babies. This is my wife. Her muscles and her mobility have atrophied after, and she was a professional dancer for 15, 20, 30, something, some ridiculous amount of years, right? Professional choreographer and dancer. So like she is well attuned to what it means to have a body that like she's very, very well attuned to her body. 4 years, 8 years of atrophy, 8 years of atrophy, and both in mobility and muscle mass, like which means she can't actually play with the boys to the degree that they want her to play with them, and she's not able to be present in her body because she's not working out. She's not tending to it. So there's in the ability to be present, there is usually a deficit that's somewhere upstream, right? For me, I'm staying up too late. Like I'm not getting enough sleep, right? Something that simple, the self-care tasks that are hard to do. Like you guys heard that the aphorism, right? It's either one day or day one. Like it's hard to do day one. Like we're not like it's hard to do day one, but hard now, easy later. If it's easy now, it will be hard later. Like hard now, easy later. Yeah. And so that would be what I would call into question for Lauren, for Kirsty, for anybody that is like you have your mind right, your emotional state is right, right? And you know what your priority is. You know what God is calling you to right now. Like what to do right now. And if you don't, you also know what to do next, which is pray and ask him so that you can discern through all of your options to understand what is the best path forward. And that might be calling somebody, but hey man, God told me to call you because I can't figure out what the best path forward is. Here's all of my options. And you work it through with the body. right? But the environment is the thing that we very rarely call into question. Our environment. Am I like, and when I say that, I mean something as simple as like, I shouldn't go into my office after a certain time, because if I go into my office, I'll veg out. And if I veg out, I'll get hungry. And if I get hungry, I'll munch at like 10 o'clock at night an entire bucket of popcorn because my self control is out the window because I'm tired, right? I shouldn't. Like, I'm going to start a phone fast between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. the next day. Why? Because if I start doom scrolling, like, the natural environmental behaviors lead to things that have waterfall effects that I don't want, like not getting to sleep on time. And if I don't get to sleep on time, the hour and a half, that's all I have for my kids in the middle of the day. The hour and a half that I give my wife a break, I'm not present with my sons or my daughters. Why? Because I'm tired. And why is that actually the problem? Because I entered work tired, work bleeds into, because I wasn't efficient or effective in the time that I had allocated to actually work. So it bled into my time with my children, because now I haven't actually resolved the things at work, so I'm not actually present with them. I have like the Lord has moved me through all of this. Yeah. So this would be like full loop de loop. I think this is like kind of the tail end of the conversation. Yeah. And we'll pray out is the small things are not necessarily small things, because no relationship is small. It may be one relationship that you're supposed to prioritize in this particular season. That is not a small thing. It might be like what Joy is trying to figure out right now, which is like, how do I pay my bills and do what I love and serve the Lord and advance the kingdom, right? That's also not a small thing. Like, everything is hard. Expect it. But easy now, hard later. Hard now, easy later. So choose hard now. Like, choose hard now. And then lastly is question if it is hard to make it easier. Like, think about your mindset. Think about like, what does the Lord need to correct about your mindset? How do we need to, like, how does the Lord need to rein in the massive elephant that is your emotional state, right? Like, is it healing that you need in order to move forward? Because your emotional state is usually like the volume or massiveness of the emotional elephant of anxiety has everything to do with you being sinned upon somewhere in your past. Like, and you having no control over that emotional state. And then lastly is your environment. Like, your environment could be your phone. Your environment could be the food in your fridge. Your environment could literally be how you orchestrate your house and how you orchestrate your home. The environment could be what you choose to listen to. Yeah. All of that stuff ordered will allow for you to move in the priority that is this season, big or small. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I see the Lord.
Yeah. 75 hard so many times. Like, so instead of starting 75 hard, here's the thing, is like all of these programs exist in the world as a heuristic or a shortcut or a mental model or a framework to get you from point A to point B, right? I would say the number one problem why these things don't work, these things like why you've started 75 hard so many times, is that it actually is a counter to the natural way you would do things anyways. And so yes, it's really good to have like a spike or like a like big like like lightning strike thing that you do to initiate, but really what you're looking for, and I think the easiest way to say this is what you're looking for is the lifestyle you were always meant to live. That's actually what you're looking for. Like, most people are not meant to live 75 hard. Most people are not meant to live training for Ironmans, unless that's literally like it's like, yeah, this is my jam. I'm gonna live my life like a freaking psycho. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
but like most people are meant to like the lifestyle that you were meant to live, David. If you started living it tomorrow, it is not necessarily 75 hard. Like, it most likely has to do with cutting things more than it has to do with adding things. Like, the volume of cuts probably is significantly higher than the volume of additions. It's more about subtraction. So what you subtract, let me give you a simple example. Like my face used to be a lot more bloated before I started intermittent fasting. Like it used to be a lot more bloated. Like, and all I did to reduce the bloat was just cut breakfast. So I have a 16-hour fast between 8 p.m. and 12 noon the next day. So mindless, so freaking mindless. So it was actually about subtracting breakfast. Like, so if I wanted my face to reduce and bloat, it was actually about reducing caloric intake. And the best way to reduce caloric intake was just to cut a meal, not even change what I'm currently eating. Like, I haven't done that yet. I tried doing that, but it got too hard, right? Because of all the other stuff going on. So I picked the simplest form. You know how hard that was in the beginning to not eat breakfast? So freaking hard. So hard. But as soon as I got used to it, hard now, easy later, it's mindless now. I don't even think about it. Yeah. So like think more like when it comes to lifestyle design, right? Ask the Lord first and foremost, before you ask the Lord what to add, ask the Lord what to take. What must I put down before what must I pick up? Because picking up is hard if you have a whole bunch of stuff you haven't put down yet. Picking up is extremely hard. This is one of the chief issues that I'm dealing with in the job that I'm currently in, is like all the stuff that they are unwilling to put down before they pick up the next thing. Right? Cool. Addie, you want to pray out?
Yeah, let me do it. Lord, I just want to thank you for this conversation. I just want to thank you for your presence in our day-to-day lives, in our schedules, in our priorities, in just everything we are longing to give to. That there's work, there's jobs, how we make money, there's relationships, there's goals, there's all this stuff that can feel overwhelming to prioritize. But we just thank you that, Lord, you are at the center of all of it. Everything filters through you. Everything can be um, shown to you and picked through and dissected, because you care about us and you have plans to prosper us and to show us how to live and walk according to the way of your heart you put in us. I just thank you that we get to let you set what we prioritize, where we go, what we do, our environment, what we need to put down and pick up, what we need to let go of, how we need to order our day. And we just get to trust that you are so much bigger than all this mess that we might be a little too close to feel like we need to untangle. And you have plans. So we just get to turn over to you. We get to give that to you and trust you with what you have in store. So just get to thank you for that, Lord, that the hard things that would be hard to do now will get easier. That the life that you've called us for, uh, giving of ourselves to other things, to people, to situations, um, is not one that will leave us depleted, because we're filled by you, Lord. That we have water full and overflowing from you pouring out of us that we can give, and we get to just trust you with that, Lord. So we just thank you for that. We thank you for blessings every person here over the weekend. We thank you for our witness to those that we come in contact with, and just for your continued presence in everything we do, no matter how big or small. And we love you and we appreciate you. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Amen.
Appreciate you guys. We'll, as usual, I'll throw this in. I'll throw this in, get it recorded, and then have it posted here this afternoon sometime, so you guys can watch the playback or see parts you missed or anything like that. So, anyways, bye. Love you guys. See ya. Boop. Little feeties.